Welcome to the Sermon in the Valley with Pastor Rob Eller. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please subscribe to it and share it with your friends and family. Thank you. Welcome back to the Sermon in the Valley. Pastor Rob Eller here with a special Holy Week edition with my sermon and the readings from Thursday, April 2nd, Maundy Thursday. Let's get started. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. John, the 13th chapter. Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already decided that Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, would betray Jesus. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from supper, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water in a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that he had tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who is bathed does not need to wash, except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet, he put on his robe, and had reclined again. He said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you should also do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, slaves are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." The Gospel of the Lord. Tonight we gather with Jesus and the 12 in a borrowed space, an upper room, cleared out and prepared for a Passover meal, a final one for Jesus. Food is on the table, and the smell of bread and wine hangs in the air, as well as a tension of what is about to happen in the coming hours. The 12 have walked with Jesus for a few years now. They have watched him feed the multitudes, heal the sick, and raise the dead. They have heard him preach on hillsides and argue with Pharisees. They have left their nets, their tax booths, their families, all of it, to follow him. They love him, and he loves them. John tells us this at the very beginning of the passage, before anything else happens. Before the foot washing, before the bread and the cup, before the betrayal. John pulls back the curtain and lets us see into the heart of Jesus with one sentence. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. To the end. The Greek translates to the uttermost, the completion, to the fullest possible measure of love. He loved them to the end. I want you to hold that image in your mind for a moment. The whole room. Not the artistic version we sometimes carry in our heads, or what is up in the stained glass window above the altar. The real upper room. In this room there is Peter. Loud, impulsive, deeply sincere Peter, who in just a few hours will look a servant girl in the eye and swear he never knew Jesus. Not just once, but 3 times. There are James and John, who sent their mother to lobby Jesus for the best seats in the kingdom, who are still even now jockeying for that position. There are men who will scatter the moment the soldiers arrive in the garden. Men who will lock themselves behind closed doors and hide. And then there is Judas, already counted out 30 pieces of silver, already made his plans, already, as John tells us, under the influence of the devil himself. This is the upper room. This is the community Jesus looked at on the last night of his life. And this is the room in which he got down on his knees and began to wash their feet, teaching the disciples what it meant to love one another. We've heard this story many times in our lives, every year on Maundy Thursday, but let's not move past it too quickly. Jesus takes the wash basin, ties a towel around his waist, and begins to wash the feet of the men who have followed him around Galilee these last few years. The one whom they called master and teacher is now taking on the posture and role of a servant, the lowliest of society. But notice what he doesn't do. He doesn't skip over anyone in the room. He knows what is about to happen. He knew Peter would deny him and Judas would betray him. But he broke bread and washed their feet anyway. This isn't weakness. It's the greatest form of strength and courage to show love to someone who you know has set into motion your end. And he did so because of love. A new commandment I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Love one another. Such a simple yet weighty command. Simple because we know what love is, or at least we think we do. Weighty because of what this kind of love demands. This isn't just simple affection between people who are close to each other. It's a type of love that transcends human boundaries. Now, love was not a new idea. The Old Testament is filled with verses about it. Leviticus commands love for neighbor. Deuteronomy commands love for God with heart and soul and strength. When Jesus was asked to name the greatest commandment, he quoted those scriptures. So what's new? 2 things. First, the standard is new. Jesus doesn't say love one another as the law requires. He says love one another as I have loved you. Do you hear the difference? He is not pointing to a rule, he is pointing to himself. To what just happened in that room. To the basin and the towel. To the bread broken and shared with shaking hands. To a love that kept going even when it knew the cost. The standard is no longer a code, it's a person. The one who just washed the feet of those who are going to betray and deny him. Second, the purpose is new. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples. Love is not just a private virtue for Jesus' followers, it is their public identity. It is how the watching world is supposed to recognize them, not their theology, not their rituals, not their moral record. Their love. We think love is easy because we love those close to us. But what about loving others? What about loving those who aren't like us? Those who have hurt us? That's where love becomes difficult. But absolutely necessary. In the upper room, Jesus loved each of the disciples, despite their flaws, despite what was about to happen. He loved Peter, even though Peter had the unfortunate habit of getting it wrong a good deal of the time. He would push back against Jesus and try to stand in his way. He says the brave things and does the fearful things. He means well and wounds anyway. He promises to follow Jesus to death and then denies ever knowing him. Most of us know people like Peter. People who genuinely love us and still manage to hurt us in ways that are hard to forgive. Not from malice, but from weakness, from fear, from being very human in moments that called for something more. Maybe you have been Peter at one point. I know I have. Loving the Peters in our lives is hard. It requires patience that runs out. It requires forgiveness extended again and again for the same failures. It's not easy. But most of us, if we search ourselves honestly, can get there. Because Peter means well. Because the relationship is worth it. Because we can see ourselves in him. But then there was Judas. A different kind of challenge. Scripture and tradition likes to make Judas out as the ultimate betrayer, beyond forgiveness and well beyond love. But Judas was only human, as broken and flawed as any of us. He gave in to temptation for reasons we do not know. As we will hear in the Passion reading on Good Friday, Judas saw what he did was wrong and repented. And regardless, Jesus still loved him. Because of what Judas did, we find that loving someone like that asks something different of us. Loving Judas asks us to extend grace where there is no reasonable expectation that it'll be honored. To serve someone who may use our service against us. To keep the door open, knowing it may be a mistake. This is where the command to love gets uncomfortable and difficult. Because most of us have a Judas in our lives. Someone who has hurt us badly enough that we have quietly, privately made a decision. We have drawn a line. We've said in our hearts, that person is beyond what I owe. That relationship is beyond repair. I will be civil if I have to, but I cannot do more. And Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, he did more than be civil. He knelt and washed Judas's feet too. I know this is not easy. Some of us carry wounds that are real and serious, not from carelessness, but from cruelty. I'm not asking you to be naive because Jesus was not naive. He washed Judas's feet, knowing what Judas had done. There is no pretending in the upper room. The love Jesus models is not a love that ignores reality. It is a love that sees clearly and chooses anyway. Open-eyed love. And here's what makes that possible. Jesus does not say, love one another out of your own reserves. He says, as I have loved you. The love we are commanded to extend flows from what has already been poured out for us. He washed our feet too. He broke bread with us too, knowing our denials, knowing our betrayals, knowing every moment we have slipped out into the night. We love because he first loved us. We kneel because someone knelt for us. We go around the room because someone went around the room for us when we did not deserve it. And we are commanded to do likewise. I know in our world today, this command can seem difficult at best and impossible at worst. We live in a time of deep division, where the distance between people who see the world differently feels wider than ever. It is easy to love those close to us. It is easy to love those who look like us, think like us, vote like us, worship like us. It is easy to love those who show us kindness, who affirm us, who meet us where we are. That kind of love requires very little of us. It costs us almost nothing. But Jesus did not give us this commandment in easy times, to easy people, about easy relationships. He gave it in an upper room full of conflict and confusion on the night everything was about to fall apart, to a group of people who were already failing each other in ways they didn't even realize yet. To love those who are different from us, those who do not understand us, those who may even wish us harm, that is not natural. It does not come easily. But it is precisely there, in that hard and costly place, where the commandment does its deepest work. Because that is where the world sees something it cannot explain on its own. That is where love becomes a witness. And that is why Jesus did not say it would be easy. He just said it was necessary. In a few moments we will come to the table. And at the table, like the one in the upper room, is not set for the deserving. It is set for everyone. For the Peters and the Judases, and everyone in between. All are loved, and we are to love all, just as Christ loves us. And all of God's people said, Amen. Thank you for listening. Please share this episode, share this podcast with your friends, your family. Spread the good news for everyone to hear. The Sermon in the Valley is a production of Gutenberg Media and is written and produced at the Patrick Stevens Broadcast Studio here in the heart of the Tuscarawas Valley. God's mercy, peace, grace, and love be with every single one of you. And as always, have a blessed day.